month, and indeed the very last month in the year 2022. And it's now time for me to serve you the first installment of the AM News. My name is Kwesi Schandorf. Now, the fourth consecutive negotiation between labor unions and the government for an increment in base pay for the 2023 working year has ended rather inconclusively. The unions are now asking government to increase their pay-based rate to 65%. That is 5% more than they requested in their last meeting. They've also rejected the government's best offering of 18%. My colleague Michael Ashale has been following the proceedings and now files this report.
Government and the labor unions have met 4 times. At the first meeting, government offered to increase their base pay by 8%. The unions rejected that offer, including the latest offer of 18%.
We've met government progress to 18. We also progressed to 65.
Initially, the unions wanted a 60% increment in their base pay. Now, they are asking for 5% more. President of CLOCSAG, Dr. Bampo Ado, explains why.
And government says they are going to consult. We also stated that we're going to meet our constituents and then we also give them feedback. So this is how we ended. We are not being unfair. As you are aware, we've read the budget and there's an indication that there will be an increase in VAT of 2.5. And then also it has been indicated that the tax brackets are going to change. So this is fresh information that we've brought on the table. Because the budget has indicated certain issues relating to VAT and the tax bracket that is going to increase our burden. And so we need to compensate for that.
Deputy Secretary General of the Trades Union Congress, Joshua Ansah, says the unions will have to consult their membership before they return to the negotiating table.
I don't agree with you that it will be difficult. We've never been difficult. We've been considerate for years, and many things have gone wrong. So I think that is the time to right the wrongs. The single pay salary structure is the most indecent structure in this very country. And we think that this is the opportunity time for us to right the wrongs. So we have not been difficult. We are the same union leaders. We are the same people that took the 4 and 7%. We are the same people who are asking for 60. And the reasons are written clearly on the wall. You will never take anything below the 60%. We are not representing ourselves. We are representing our constituents. And we have to go back and inform our members who sent us to negotiate for them.
The Deputy Minister for Employment and Labour Relations, Bright Rekubrobe, says government is frustrated.
Unfortunately, we have had to table something anytime we have met. But Labour insists on a figure. So we are going back and we'll reconvene. I am disturbed. I am disturbed. But in the spirit of negotiation, we will go back and come again. It's about money. It's about ability to pay. So I am also worried that they are also not moving to come and meet us at where we can come to a compromise. Because for the 4th consecutive times, we have had to table something. And Labour says that they are unwilling to take it. So it's a clear case of frustration, very genuine one indeed. So it is not like I am not happy. Of course, you don't want me to be happy when there is this state of affairs. Well, we are going back to look at what we can do. And then if we can go further, we will let the media know. We will let them know.
If both parties fail to reach an agreement soon, the National Labour Commission will be invited to mediate. The meeting has now been adjourned indefinitely. For Joy News, Michael Ashale.
Let's now turn our attention to Parliament, where in a twist of events, the spokesperson of the 98 NPP MPs who are asking the President to sack the embattled Finance Minister has now mounted a strong defense for the budget during the debate. Asante Achim North MP Andy Apiakubi was prepared to lead the NPP MPs to boycott the presentation of the budget and any other business presented by Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta until a last-minute push from the party to get the MPs to attend the budget presentation. But Andy Apiakubi has now praised the measures in place included in the budget.
Mr. Speaker, it is also for us to create the necessary partnerships with industry players who probably have the financial resources. We want to go into industry. So, Mr. Speaker, when we have taken advantage of the internal markets within the country and the markets as created outside the country, then we can see the import and effect of the 1D1F program. In my own constituency, and we were saying that we don't have any 1D1F. In my own constituency, Schandorf, and in Agugo, to be specific, we have a factory that is processing plantain. Myself, I'm a plantain farmer, so I discharge plantain into the factory, and it is onwardly exported to Canada with collaboration with CISIRS, Council for Industrial and Scientific Research. We have generated a market in Canada, and our produce coming from Agugo is destined to go to the Canadian market. So if you don't have it in your constituency, it's just that you have not been able to identify the potential that your constituency has, and you have not taken advantage of the opportunities that the ministry presents. Mr. Speaker, within the various districts, we have second cycle institutions that are ready market for the produce that come from the one district, one portion. The dough that we produce in Agugu, we are serving the secondary schools in the area. The plantain that we plant in Agugu, we are serving the secondary schools. So the market is there. Under the free trade, African free trade regime, the whole of Africa is available to us. And even before the African free trade regime, we had the ECOWAS trade liberalization scheme that also opened the whole of
Let's still stay in Parliament, where the NDC minority has welcomed the reintroduction of road tolls in the 2023 budget. The government stopped the collection of road tolls in November 2021 after an announcement in the 2022 budget. But Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, during the presentation of the 2023 budget, announced the reintroduction of the tolls as part of government's measures to rake in revenue. Debating the statement, Minority spokesperson on roads and transport governance, Kwame Agboja, while welcoming the development, said government had been populist in cancelling the road tolls in the very first place.
On page 40, paragraph 462, we welcome the decision by the road minister to bring back the road tolls. We take no pride in saying we told you so, Mr. Speaker. It was populist, it was unnecessary, we told you, and they were there shouting, oh, we are going to do it because we had e-levy. Today, we want to bring the road toll. But Mr. Speaker, some members of the party that belong to the other side had the courage to tell you that if you want a road toll, you should go and collect it yourself. Today, they have brought a law here to say they are bringing it back. Mr. Speaker, on principle, we supported it that it should remain that time. We are still supporting it that they should bring it back. But there will be no blank checks. If you bring the road toll back, all the accruals must go into road maintenance. Otherwise, we are not going to support you. That is why we say decap the road fund. So, Mr. Speaker, on the issue of Temamoto Way, they said, we sat here and said time and again that what the minister was calling a contract between the Ghana government and Bota Angels is not a fit for purpose contract. You cannot sign a contract with a foreign company without coming to this house. Article 1781 and 5 doesn't allow you to do that. Mr. Speaker, we welcome the decision of the road minister to come back to the house with an appropriate package that to build the Accra Temamoto Way. When we look at that package and it's fit for purpose, Mr. Speaker, we would support that. Mr. Speaker, lastly, on the issue of indebtedness, Mr. Speaker, Ghanaian contractors, patriotic citizens are in serious problem. As we read this budget, there is no indication as to how we are going to pay the 12 billion or so that we owe Ghanaian contractors. Some of them are in this room. Some of them are relatives. Some of them are citizens of this country. Some of them have sold their houses. They have collateralized everything. Mr. Speaker, we must find a way of helping the government to pay these contractors. And the last.
Well, both sides have actually been very creative in advancing their respective arguments. Deputy Ranking Member on the Finance Committee, Isaac Adonko, likened Vice President Bawumia to Manchester United captain Harry Maguire, who is scoring own goals and messing up the economy.
But, Mr. Speaker, I am not surprised. If you are a fan of football, and I'm happy to see you the other day jubilating when Ghana won. But there was a player in the United Kingdom, in England, called Maguire, who was playing for Manchester United. Harry Maguire. He's a defender. He was tackling everybody and throwing his bodies everywhere, that he was seen as the best defender in the world. Manchester United went and bought him. He became the biggest threat at the center of Manchester United's defense, tackling Manchester players and giving assists to opponents. Mr. Speaker, when even the opponents failed to score, Maguire will score for them. Mr. Speaker, you remember in this country we also had an economic Maguire. This economic Maguire went to Malata market and were clapping, saying that this man is the best in managing foreign currency. The same economic Maguire was roaming at Central University, delivering lectures on how to restore the value of the city. Mr. Speaker, when we gave this Maguire the opportunity to be at the center of our defense, he became the risk of our own goal. Dr. Momia, our economic Maguire, is now tackling all the fundamentals of our economy and destroying all of them. When he said that he was the best in calculating inflation, he moved us to 40.4. When he said that he was the best in managing depreciation, that was 9% at the Bahamas, he moved it to 54%. Mr. Speaker, this man was crying everywhere that businesses are collapsing because of interest rate. Today, Koku Mensa Enterprise would have to borrow above the 36% government is borrowing, somewhere around 45 to 50%. Mr. Speaker, the biggest fear now is that we may be paying appearance fee for this Maguire to now score Kwesi against the other.
Well, the ruling New Patriotic Party did not let this slide without a response. MP for Seshi Akontombra Alex Tete also likened former President John Dramani Mahama to Chelsea player on loan at Inter Milan, Romelu Lukaku.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday I listened carefully to the debates or the speech made by Honorable Adungo on a Maguire that he emulated to the Vice President. Mr. Speaker, we all know that the whole world is facing with the economic crisis, and it is better for us to maintain Maguire, that we will be able to have his confidence back rather than to bring a striker like Romelu Lukaku, which Chelsea sold to Inter Milan, and later have a confidence that Lukaku can able to actually help them in their striking force, not knowing that Lukaku is the worst striker in the whole world. And we are not ready to bring such type of striker into the country again. We are here, Mr. Speaker, as a nation where the striker that the opponents are talking about the former president, is not able to pay the teachers that they actually are hired for them to talk for 24 months, but only 3 months have been paid. This debt was created by Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. That's normally called legacy debt. Mr. Speaker, we are in this country when the so-called striker is not able to provide 24 hours electricity to the Ghanaians. Now the Maguire that cannot defend the Manchester is able to provide this particular land to light for the Ghanaians. Mr. Speaker, in this country, Article 36 plus 2C actually provided how the distribution of infrastructure should be made in this country. And I can challenge both sides of the House, or the members of Parliament from both sides of the House, that since Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, through the able Minister of Roads and Highways, assumed office, has developed unprecedented roads construction in this country.
Now, away from Parliament, the Bono East Regional Director of Health Services, Dr. Fred Adomako Boateng, has bemoaned the increasing rate of diabetes in the region. He said even though men are at a greater risk of getting the disease, women constitute majority of the cases recorded over the past few years. He's therefore admonished people to regularly check their sugar levels as well as check their lifestyles in order to stay safe. And Asabit has spoiled the full report.
The month of November is National Diabetes Month, and March government and media attention is focused on the need to slow the growing epidemic of diabetes across the globe. Here in the Benue East region, the rising number of diabetes cases over the past years continue to be a source of worry for health officials. Regional Director of Health Services Dr. Fred Adumakubuatin bemoaned the increasing number of new cases of diabetes in the region.
If you look at the OPD, the number of cases that have been coming to for general care at the OPD, gone were the days. You never recorded diabetes as one of the top 10 diseases in our OPD. But as we speak now, diabetes and hypertension are among the top 10. And specifically, as we are discussing, diabetes is among the top. So it means that we are having challenges with diabetes. I can give numbers. So if you look at 2017, we had 4,820 cases diagnosed as diabetes. 2018, 6,868 new cases of diabetes. 2019, 7,537. 2020, 6,565. And then 2021, 6,219. And as we are speaking now, we have not completed the year, but we have 7,712 cases of newly diagnosed diabetes.
He further emphasized that even though men are more at risk of being diagnosed with diabetes, women constitute majority of the regional diabetes cases.
If you want to look at the sex ratio, look at the percentages for the ladies. In 2017, they were about 63% of the cases. If you look at 2018, it was about 68% of the cases. If you look at 2019, 73% of the cases that we discussed were female. The question somebody will ask, are females or sex being female a risk factor for diabetes? No. It's basically to do with way that we assess care for men and for the women. So you can see that the numbers that we are recording, almost twice the value of them are women. It means that the men are not coming, we are not picking the men, or whatever strategies that we have is not reaching the men. That is what we will look at. Because if you look at the risk factors for diabetes, things that you do that will prone you to having diabetes, the men, we have most of the risk.
Dr. Fred Adumakubuatin was, however, quick to encourage people to check their lifestyles as well as check their sugar statuses, adding that early diagnosis save lives.
These are the things that we want the community to know, that, look, engage in a lifestyle that will prevent you from having this problem. And even if you have it, please make sure that you check your sugar, because there are drugs there. And more importantly, engage in activity, physical activity, and let's move away from sedentary lifestyle.
The theme for this year's World Diabetes Day is education to protect tomorrow. And as Sabit, Joy News, Kintampo.
Now, the current economic situation presents tougher times for most households with a high squeeze on family budgets. Child protection advocates are therefore predicting higher cases of abuse against children during this period of high cost of living. They say that children may suffer both verbal and physical abuse should they cause any financial loss to their families or guardians. There's more in the following report.
Over 500 cases of child neglect and an increasing spate of defilements, rape and abduction have been recorded in the Ashanti region since the beginning of 2022. The data from the Police Domestic Violence and Victim Support Units presents a dire consequential threat on the well-being of children, with the future of victims of such ill treatment at the brink of jeopardy. Dadiase, a community in the Setra East municipality, has been identified as recording increasing cases of child abuse. Nana Ekwecha is queen mother for the area.
Poverty contributes to the increase in cases. Whether or not you have money, it's your responsibility to cater for your ward. You have to work to take care of your child.
In celebration of the United Nations International Child Rights Day, the Ajeso cluster of child development centers sensitized the community on the need to promote the rights of children. The event forms part of the group's activities to holistically develop vulnerable children in area of cognition, socio-emotional, physical and spiritual traits. President of the association, Sandis Owusu-Nimako, admonished parents to contrast training their wards with abusing them.
We bring the balance here. We are not saying that children should not be trained, but there is a proper way to train a child. We do not want to damage the child as against the future where the child will be beneficial. So what we are seeing is that as parents, in as much as we want to bring up our children very well, there is a balance as to destroying the future of a child as against protecting the child against certain abuses. And so that balance should always be there. And especially around this time where times are hard, as a parent, if you are not careful, out of the anger and frustration of the economic conditions, you may be forced to overly exert pressure and force on a child. We would want everybody to know that even in these times, children are important.
The event, in collaboration with the Compassion International Ghana, aims at protecting children against all forms of violence and exploitation. Some overlooked abuses, including verbal assaults, are reported to have adverse effects on children's growth. Frank Sam is partnership facilitator of Compassion Ghana.
In fact, every day our children are abused. When we talk about abuse, people have a misconception that it's just sexual. Even the physical abuse, like beating your child, we don't see it as an abuse, but it's an abuse. The way we talk to children, how we put them into emotional stress, emotional trauma. My advice to parents is that our words to children should be encouraging. We should encourage them. We should manage our expectation for children. You don't expect a child to behave the same way you would behave.
The program was held under the theme Safeguarding the Rights and Interests of Children, a Responsibility for All. For Joy News, Emmanuel Bright Kweku reporting.
Now, farming, we all know, is crucial for food security and also stimulates economic growth. However, lack of the time and resource to go to the farm site to monitor the conditions of the farm and motivation to manually irrigate the farm deter many from partaking in this particular venture. Fortunately, two computer science students of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Isaac Junior Ampa and Blaise Ayi Dingo, have developed a smart farming system to curtail these problems. Lab FM's Kwesi Deborah has more on the following report.
We built the smart farmhouse system using IoT. Agriculture is a very profitable business which improves on food security and also stimulates economic growth. A lot of people want to invest in agriculture, but due to some problems, including lack of time and resources to go onto the farm to monitor the conditions of the farm regularly, and also manually irrigating the farm every time, they are not able to join. So putting this into consideration, my partner and I built our system, which comes equipped with sensors that provide live climatic and soil conditions to the farmer everywhere he or she is in the world through our Farm Power, which is our mobile system. And also, we integrated an intelligent smart irrigation system which also detects the amount of soil, amount of water in the soil, and activates the system to irrigate the farm. And also, an additional feature, there are situations where there is fire outbreak on the farm, and by the time you get to the farm, all your produce are gone. So we integrated an intelligent fire prevention system, which upon smoke detection automatically activates the irrigation system to quench fire. And I would like to demonstrate it to you. So as a farmer, all you have to do is log in to the app. And upon logging in, you are sent to the home page where you can track all the features or all the conditions of the app. So we have your temperature, your humidity, the water level, the amount of water in the reserve tank, the soil moisture, and the amount of light that your farm is exposed to. And upon this, you can, everything happening on the farm, you can track it from the mobile app. So when the system detects that the water level is below a certain percentage, it automatically turns on the water reserve pump, which pumps water into the reserve tank. We are using this to simulate our reserve tank. And now we can see that our water level is in the yellow range, which means it's okay. So it automatically turns off the pump. And also when the soil moisture, when the system detects that the soil moisture is below a certain range, which is not good for the plant, it also activates the pump from the reserve tank, which pumps water onto the farm to irrigate or add more moisture to the soil. Upon detecting that there is little water in the soil, it activates the pump and water is pumped onto the soil to irrigate the system. And also, water is also pumped into the reserve tank as the water level decreases.
As a wrap on the news, for more, log on to www.myjoyonline.com. My name is Kwesi Schandorf. Do have a blessed day. Bye.